Welcome to the Guardians of Hope podcast, where we bring together parents, nonprofits, legal, and medical experts dedicated to positively impacting children's lives. I'm your host, Cynthia Ramsaran. The thoughts and opinions of my guests are not necessarily my own, so thank you all for joining and sharing. Okay, welcome everyone. Today we are addressing one of the most personal challenges that single parents face, finding love and companionship while staying focused on parenting. Joining me is JD Samuels-Kuba, CEO of LJ Matchmaking, who brings both professional expertise and deep understanding to our conversation. She's here to help our community of single parents understand how to approach dating with intention, authenticity, and hope while staying committed to the children in their care. JD, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So tell us a bit about your background and experience.
Yeah, for sure. So I started as a television writer actually in 2014. And I just noticed how many people had been in my industry prioritizing their careers at the expense of their personal relationships, and started my matchmaking side hustle as a result, hoping to try to address that one person at a time. And I ended up going into business with a woman named Lauren Rosenberg, who had been noticing a similar issue that needed addressing, who worked in the unscripted side of the industry. And so initially we started setting up people who worked in the entertainment industry, and it just started growing from there. And now it is a full-time job and passion. And I also have gotten into the date coaching industry as well, which I'm equally passionate about.
Excellent. Well, you're the right person to talk about this. So, what makes dating as a single parent fundamentally different? And what are some of the biggest challenges you see them facing when it comes to trying to balance personal relationships with commitment to parenting, of course?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, what's different, of course, is that your child is your number one priority. It's not specifically dating, but I think the important thing to remember, same thing that you've heard all the time about, you've got to put an oxygen mask on yourself before you then try to help a child or somebody else. I think to be in the best position to help a child in your care, it's ideal if you are well resourced yourself. And so, I think that that's extremely important to be able to prioritize that. Certainly logistics, like, what days do I have my child, or that I don't, so that I could go out and date more freely, or logistics like hiring a babysitter and things like that might get in the way. I've also worked with single parents who, despite their best efforts to blend their family with another's, it can be very tricky, especially if that relationship is maybe perceived to affect that child, which is always unfortunate. And it can get even harder if maybe you're dealing with a child who has special needs, but it's definitely a balance.
Yeah, those are all great points, JD. Let's talk about online dating, which is prevalent in society today. It's the most accessible option for busy parents. Should single parents mention their children upfront in their dating profiles? And also, what mistakes do you see them making on dating apps or dating in general?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of mentioning it upfront personally. I think it's different if you're meeting somebody maybe at a bar or a party, because organically, like, there's no deception involved. If you are like, if I'm meeting someone at a friend's birthday, I'm not going to say like, hey, I'm JD, I'm 5'2", I'm Jewish, I work in entertainment, and I have a 3-year-old. But online dating, it's all about leading with your stats and leading people out that way. And so I wouldn't want someone to start a potential courtship withholding something that vital. But that being said, I think it actually really works to your advantage too. I mean, would you want to necessarily take the time to prepare for a date, to hire a babysitter, get dressed up, potentially pay for that date, if you're not even sure if that person's open to dating somebody in that situation, your situation? So I think it's a weeding out process too. And I think a lot of people with online dating, they don't it's all about, oh my gosh, how can I get the most engagements possible with people? But it's not about that. It's about engaging with the right person. And so I think the right person is going to be somebody who is at the very least open to your situation. And so
Mhm.
I recommend leading with it.
Yeah, definitely. And with that in mind, when is the right time to introduce someone to the person that you're dating, or it's your children to the person that you're dating? And what factors should parents consider before taking that step, especially when they want to protect their kids who are vulnerable?
Mhm. I mean, I think it's a very thoughtful thing to consider. It's keep in mind this advice is coming from a matchmaker, not a child and family therapist. But I would say from the couples that I've set up, tons of people who are single parents entering into new relationships, I would say there's no right window. Probably, wait until you're at least exclusive with that person. Maybe bring
Mhm.
that partner around as presenting it to your child as a friend. At the beginning, it also depends on the age of the child and what their emotional needs are. So, um, the advice would give is more nuanced and dependent on a person's specific situation. I think there are some people that say like, oh, with like this amount of time, and for me, it's less about that, and it's just more nuanced depending upon the person's age and how they are
Mhm.
brought into that child's life.
Right. Like nothing is guaranteed. We know this for sure when it comes to relationships, any aspect of your life, nothing's guaranteed. I've heard people advise to wait until at least there's a deeper level of commitment, like engagement or the intention of marriage. But that's not everyone's goal. Not everyone at this point in their life who are single and may and have children may want to get married again, right? So you're absolutely right.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I also think, kind of going off of that, I think that a lot of people may not want to get engaged or move in with
Exactly.
someone who don't have that relationship with that child. So I think, again, even if it's introducing to that person you're dating to your child as just a friend of yours at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
I think establishing some sort of relationship, knowing what that interaction is going to be like as a relationship deepens, is something that's really important and I think helps build toward a future that's shared.
Right. Managing the expectations of your partner with the child is
Mhm.
absolutely important. Okay. So, leaning into that, many single parents struggle with guilt about dating, especially when it feels like they're taking time away from their children, or maybe they feel like they don't deserve to have love or try again. You mentioned something about putting on your mask before you give your child that mask. I feel like this is sort of in line with that. So how do you address that mindset with your clients, and what about those? So the first question is, how do you address that? And the second one is, what about those who you come across that don't want to date single parents?
Sure. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of you're in the best position to help your child if you're feeling loved and resourced and happy yourself. And so the best possible thing you can do for your child is to take care of yourself and to take care of your needs in that way. For people who don't want to date someone who is a single parent, I would say they are missing out. That person off the bat is probably responsible, dedicated, likely somebody nurturing, selfless, supportive, mature. They come armed with the majority of qualities that a person is usually searching for in a partner, and many of those people who have kids already are potentially willing to explore the possibility of having more. So I think if that's maybe a reason you tell yourself for not wanting to explore something with a single parent, that's not necessarily the case. And so I think right off the bat, you're kind of getting the full package. And I would encourage, with all my clients that I work with who are initially on the fence or not open, if I have a match for them who I think is just amazing for them and they happen to have a child, the great thing about matchmaking is I can have a conversation with that person, and they're not just a statistic on an online dating app. I get to bring them to life for that person and explain why I think they're specifically well suited for them and why it's worth the meet.
Yeah, very important. Um, JD, I have one more question for you, and it's just some advice. So, what are your top three pieces of advice for parents who are ready to put themselves out there and start dating, but still staying true to their values and commitment to parenting?
Let's see. I would say number one, know that your situation is ultimately more of an asset than a liability because of what you now have to offer as a result of that child being in your care and the qualities that you've probably developed as a result. To know you're not alone. As of 2023, I think it is 25% of children are living with a single parent. So, there's so many other people in your situation. And three, you have a leg up on dating compared to other singles, in my opinion. I think that you're more inclined probably to look for values that are really, truly important in finding a partner as opposed to maybe some people who lead with more superficial aspects or haven't had enough dating experience because you're actually looking for somebody not just for yourself, but who's going to be a good role model for the child in your life. You're dating with intention, you're dating with clarity. And I think you just have an advantage in that sense. So I think that, yeah, it's great all around.
Great. JD, thank you so much. Can you tell everyone where we can learn more about you and your matchmaking services? Do you have a website?
Mhm. Yeah, sure. So I have a website, which is ljmatchmaking.com. So it's for my business partner, Lauren, myself, JD, ljmatchmaking.com. You could follow me on socials, TikTok and Instagram at Matchmade in Hollywood. I also have a Simon & Schuster book through Avid Reader coming out that's now available for pre-order called Your Last First Date: Secrets from a Hollywood Matchmaker. And it's narrative, but by the end, you should feel like we just had 10 1-hour coaching sessions together. And it's just a really fun read. And I talk about my husband, who was a client of mine I set up 5 times. And so just, yeah, it should bring a lot of hopefully warmth and humor and relatability to your life.
Sounds like a fun read indeed. I will be sure to link all of that information below. And JD, thank you for your time today and for discussing this topic. You've given me some hope, and you've given some other parents, hopefully, some hope for some light at the end of the dating tunnel. Thank you so
I
much.
really hope so. That's what I'm here for.
All
Thanks for
right.
having me.